Mark, you ready? Okay. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Genoa Township Board of Trustees. This is a regular trustee meeting. Today's date is July 6, 2023, and the time is 6:30 p.m. Pat, will you call the roll?
Mr. Antoinette?
Here.
Ms. Goodman?
Here.
Ms. Vaughn?
Here. Also present, we have our fiscal officer, Pat Myers, Steve Gamble, our police chief, Linda Greco, Director of Human Resources, Joe Schaefer, Director of Zoning and Development, James McMillan, Deputy Police Chief, Corey Weekly. Nope. That would be Joe Ponzi, Fire Chief, Paul Wise, Township Administrator, Bob Matthews, Director of Roads and Buildings and Grounds, and Rush Tabali, our Deputy Police Chief. At this time, I would like to ask, we have quite a few Boy Scouts here from troops 84 and 85, so if I could have them stand over here to your left wall, my right wall, and if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and if everybody could stand if you're able. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Perfect. Great, thank you. First, we have a new hire for the police, so I'm going to turn it over to Chief Gamble.
Good evening, trustees. I respectfully request a resolution to hire Morgan Little as a full-time police officer, effective July 24th, 2023. Ms. Little has successfully completed all portions of our hiring process to include polygraph, background, psychological, and medical exams. Ms. Little currently works as a police officer for the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and has 3 years' experience. Based on that, I request to hire her at the D-step rate of $38.93 per hour as allowed by the collective bargaining agreement with trustee approval. This has been the standard practice with our lateral hires. Ms. Little also has a bachelor's degree in environmental science from Ohio Dominican University.
Okay, I'll move to hire Morgan Little as a full-time police officer effective July 24th, 2023 at the D-step rate of $38.93 per hour per the collective bargaining agreement. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Morgan, if you want to stand up here for the oath of office, please.
All right, we'll stand this way. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Morgan Little,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio,
and faithfully discharge the duty
and faithfully discharge the duties
as police officer
as police officer
in Genoa Township,
in Genoa Township,
Delaware County,
Delaware County,
state of Ohio,
state of Ohio,
during the continuance of my employment.
during the continuance of my employment.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you, thank you. Congratulations, thank you.
Morgan, who would you like to present your badge to you? Okay. Do it over there. Do you want to introduce some of the folks here with you tonight?
Yeah, this is my husband, Kevin. Can we get a mic?
Okay.
Oh, on the mic. Yep, sorry.
Here we go. This is my husband, Kevin, who's also a police officer for the state of Ohio, and my mother, who's wonderful, wonderful woman, Linda. And then my sister, Reese, who looks just like me. then I have my in-laws and my brother and sister-in-law and all my nieces and nephew, and then my sister-in-law, all here to support me today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, if you'll follow Deputy Chief Tribali and Deputy Chief McMillan back to the station for a little cake and ceremony, and show a tour of the station to your family. Thank you.
Where did she say he's a police officer? So, trooper?
Probably ODNR.
Oh, okay.
All right, I will turn it over to our fiscal officer, Pat Meyer.
Thank you. A few things tonight. First, I'd like to ask approval of the trustee meeting minutes. May 3rd, regular trust, I'm sorry, it says May 4th right there. May 4th, regular trustee meeting. May 15th, special trustee zoning meeting. June 1st, regular trustee meeting, and the June 14th, special trustee zoning meeting.
Okay, I'll move to approve the following trustee meeting minutes. May 4th, 2023, regular trustee meeting. May 15th, 2023, special trustee zoning meeting. June 1st, 2023, regular trustee meeting. June 14th, 2023, special trustee zoning meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes, motion carries.
The second thing, for your review, I'll have for you after. We have the April and May financials reconciled. Everything is balanced and reconciled. I'll give you the balance effective, this was June 7th. So total balance, $26,963,879.10. Our pooled investments are $21,664,433.14. And then our primary account of $5,299,445.96. And I'll have these for your review and signature along with the minutes. The next thing I'd like to present is each year we do, we take unencumbered funds and move a portion of those funds into capital project funds for Bob's group, for Joe's group, and for Chief Gamble's group. So tonight I'm asking to go ahead and do those transfers. So you'll see resolutions to approve the transfer of funds for road and bridge, for police and fire. If you could read those, you could probably do as presented with the amount. It's up to you, how you want to do it. The amount's going to be on, is number 3,
Yep.
7,
I see
and,
it.
yes, 3. So
Move to approve the transfer of unencumbered money from the Township Road and Bridge Fund to the Township Road and Bridge Capital Projects Funds in the amount of $100,000. The rest of it is as presented. Is that, that's all right? Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. Go ahead and do the other two.
Yeah, I do the
Okay.
police and fire as well.
All right, I'll move to approve the transfer of unencumbered money from the Township Police Fund to the Township Police Capital Projects Fund in the amount of $220,000 as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. Next, I'll move to approve the transfer of unencumbered money from the Township Fire Fund to the Township Fire Capital Outlay Fund in the amount of $100,000 as presented. Do I have a second?
Yes. Second. Sorry.
It's good.
Yes, you have a second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
And then we'll, Don and I will send up copies of each of the resolutions to be certified to auditors for the movement of these funds. So, okay? And the last thing I have is, every year we do a scheduled meeting for Township Records Policy and Retention. Have that policy and retention together. We've scheduled time at 6 o'clock on October the 5th for Renee, myself, Paul, and Donna to meet at 6 p.m. prior to the meeting to review that. Once Paul Renee, Don, and I all say, yep, that looks right, that looks good, everything's cool, we'll have you resolve to adopt it for the year, okay? But I just wanted to let you know, we set that up for October 5th,
Okay, thank you.
6 PM.
All
Other than
right.
that, that's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open it up to public comment. So if you came here to speak, now is the time to come up to the microphone and share your thoughts. No one? All right, I'll close public comment and I'll move on to trustee comments. Anyone have anything to?
I don't have anything to
Sure.
add.
I have one comment. I just want to give a special shout out to Chet Daniels of the Parks Department. On our last movie night, we had a couple glitches. One, the July movie came in June, so in July, you'll see the June movie, not an issue. But Chet did amazing work when the audio didn't work. We were going to have the old silent movie, and he worked very calmly. He was cool, calm, and collected, got everything working, and we were all very pleased to say our movie night went on without any further hitches. So thank you very much for your hard work, Chet.
Thank you. I have a few things. First, the Source Point course in Genoa Township for this month is July 19th from 1:30 to 2:30 at the Township Hall. And Source Point only has 4 mobile classes. So we've done 3. And so they had suggested we do art or games. So this month it's going to be 6-card golf. So it's going to be more of a social hour than an informational hour. Also, I'm working with both the fire, police, and the health district to schedule a Narcan training in September, so stay tuned for that. I don't have a confirmation from the health department on the date we've put together. And also, I want to thank Leslie, specifically, Leslie Strader, our communications director, for being the ringleader on the name recognition or the naming ceremony that took place over the weekend on Saturday. She was instrumental in putting that event together, and along with Jessica Stanley. Lauren Fitzpatrick from our maintenance department was great at taking the lead on their end, and also Yolanda Harris from Channel 10 was helped us get some keynote speakers. So just appreciate everybody helping out with that. And then also, I attended an OTA county officers meeting on June 23rd, and they had one speaker who was, I felt was interesting, and maybe it is something that we need to think about for 2024. On April 8th, 2024, there will be a total solar eclipse, and Ohio is right in the path of this solar eclipse. Delaware County is just inside the 100% blackout zone. And when this happened in 2017, it went from South Carolina to Utah, but those areas that were in that line were impacted from people traveling from all over the world. The speaker, and forgive me, I didn't write her name down, she works for the state of Ohio, and she said that they've already gotten calls from NASA and people from other countries who want to come to Ohio to watch this event. So the message was, if we're not in the dead center of this zone, but we are close enough that if you think you aren't going to be impacted, you will. A couple months ago, there was talk about Olentangy schools, which is where my kids go, closing school that day. And I was thinking, why would you close school that day? But we had an eclipse in 17, and everybody went to school, and you learned, well, the eclipse is going to happen at 3 o'clock, from 3 to 3:10, which is right when some schools are dismissing. So you got a total blackout, and they said in 2017, there was a traffic jam half the length of Illinois. And people were not able to get to the location they had planned to get to watch the eclipse, so they started just pulling off into community parks. And one of the people who the representative spoke to couldn't get to the destinations, popped off on a community park. There were 50 people in the park when he arrived, and by the time the eclipse happened, there were 2,000. So it was eye-opening for me. What preparation does Genoa want to take, if any? But they are saying embrace it. The people will come. I checked hotel rooms, and it's really, I want to say, like Marion is closer to the center. You can't find a hotel room. They're sold out, and so are campgrounds already. So I just put this out here because do we want to create a committee? We can just, you don't have to answer now, but it's something to think about, and we need to come up with a game plan, I feel.
Just for
Yes,
information,
go
we've been
ahead.
in meetings with county EMA for months on this.
Okay,
So I think you have too. So it's, I don't go voluminous details, but everybody's on board in the county for working
okay.
towards this.
Well, maybe you can educate us then.
Well, we can send you the updates if you'd like as we get them from the EMA. They're pretty extensive.
Okay. And that's, you're jogging my brain, that's what the speaker was from, the EMA. Yeah. That doesn't sound
Or is she
familiar.
from the state EMA?
State EMA, yeah. Yeah, so I just put that out there on the record to just share with the other two trustees of something to think about for April. I know it's a ways away, but it'll be here before we know it. And I think if we come up with a plan, it's going to take a little while to come up with one. And that's all I have. So next, I'll turn it over to Linda, Human Resources.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to ask the board to accept the resignation of Administration Office Assistant Deborah Confair, effective June 26, 2023.
I'll move to accept the resignation of Administrative Office Assistant Deborah Confrey, effective, what did you say?
June 26.
Thank you. June 26, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. Next.
And I do have a second item, but I'd like to table that, if I could, until after the executive session.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's it.
All right, and then Bob, I'll turn it over to you, or should I turn it over to Molly first? Okay.
Good evening. Last night at the Parks Advisory Committee meeting, we put together our priorities, which is something that we do every year. We typically do it September, October. Those priorities are what we use for planning purposes, for spending of the levy money over the upcoming year. This year, because our levy is on the ballot to be renewed in November, we moved that up a little bit, so we met earlier so we could get those priorities put together. As we started the conversation, the committee felt like maybe we needed to look at it in a couple different ways rather than the way that we have traditionally looked at it. So what came out of the entire conversation was that the goals of increasing trail connections and acquiring new parkland are things that always rise to the top every single year. And they're things that just because maybe they don't necessarily show up on what we've done in the past, the top 5 priorities, doesn't mean that they got swept under the rug and they weren't a priority at all. So we decided to break those out and put those into a category of they are ongoing. And money is consistently being kind of tucked away so that when the opportunity arises that we have the easements that we need in order to put in some type of trail connection, we also have some funding to back that up. Same thing with parkland. If we had the opportunity to acquire parkland, which, as we all know, there's not a ton of land in Genoa Township to be acquired anymore, but if the opportunity were to arise, that we would have some money stuck aside to help fund that. So we kind of broke those out and said those are ongoing things, always present. Next thing was we thought about what would the priorities, maybe we needed to come up with some priorities for how levy money would be spent over the next 5 years. So the levy that is up on the ballot in November, rather than being a 3-year levy, would be a 5-year levy. No change in the millage, just a different time frame so that we don't have to go and renew it every 3 years. we're moving it out to be a 5-year levy. So what would those priorities be over that 5-year of the levy? Well, in looking at all of the priorities or all of the activities and the goals and things like that in the Parks and Trails Master Plan, we came up with those that you have listed. So we did a top 5 for the 5-year plan of the priorities. So that includes preservation of historic township buildings, namely the McNamara Barn. The other historic building is the old Township Hall, which got moved in December to McNamara Park. So specifically, that goal and activity is related to the barn, which is pending a grant for its renovation. So making that a priority, that if we did receive that grant, we need to be prepared to move forward with that, so that would make that a priority. Secondly, studying the feasibility of the stream restoration at Center Green. In the plan, the master plan, we had that listed as a study of the feasibility. So we feel like maybe we're ready to kind of move past the initial study and move into more looking into it, continuing to look into it, but then also maybe applying for some grants and things like that, and getting that to where it might be ready to roll further than just a study. Next up is to design and build an interactive water playscape. That also is in McNamara. Next would be, the goal says to establish and implement a playground replacement schedule. That document itself has been completed. It was completed this year. So now we're kind of moving into the phase of that particular goal or activity that says, okay, well now let's execute on that document. Like, what are our oldest playgrounds? And looking into starting to replace all of those. So for number 4 in the 5-year priorities, it's specifically to replace the playground equipment at McNamara Park. And then lastly, in that 5-year priority is to reconfigure the south entrance of McNamara Park. So as you all know, the entrance into the park is combined with maintenance and fire, and it's just kind of a big entrance. And if you're new to the park, then you're kind of like thinking, am I in the right place? Am I driving in? So it would be the goal to kind of reconfigure that to make that a little clearer as to actually getting into the park. So after we came up with all those 5-year priorities, then we said, okay, so what do we need to do for the upcoming year in order to prepare for all of that? And of course, all of this is pending the passage of the levy, because we can't do any of this if the levy doesn't actually pass. But looking at our 2024 goals and priorities, as far as like what we as a committee want to focus on, is the first thing is we want to actually establish some priorities and a plan for trail connections. We regularly get suggestions about where people want trail connections, and we welcome those. We value that input from the community. But the big challenge, one of the big challenges to that, is getting the easements from the homeowners that the trail would have to pass through. So we want to really take a look at a map and think about, where would those potential connections be, and kind of put a plan together and kind of prioritize those. The next one, number 2, is to pursue grants. So all of those activities or all of those goals, priorities in the 5-year, all of that is going to take some subsidizing from some grants. So we really want to put together a plan of applying for those grants and starting to get the grant applications done so that we have a chance to have the grant when we're ready to potentially start a project. We kind of always feel like we're kind of behind the 8 ball, and this kind of aligns us a little bit better. And next up, we want to work with a landscape architect, because as you might have noticed, a lot of that stuff in the 5-year priorities is all tied to McNamara. And it would be really important to actually get a professional landscape architect and get the opinion to actually lay all of that out in a really sound visual manner and make it make sense. So at this point, given that this is what the committee came up with, our typical pattern would be that you guys give feedback, any changes that you would like to make or see, discussion about this, and then finally an acceptance as for these priorities to go forward.
Thank you for a very thorough, I love, it's
little too
great.
thorough.
No, no, it's great. It's great. She's done a lot of work with this, so thank you. Any questions, comments?
I have a couple thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
First off, I'm very pleased that you're pursuing grants whenever you can. I mean, that's critical, and we know how that has helped parks and other departments. So thank you to your group for doing that. I'm a little bit concerned about the 5-year levy priorities. Not that I don't like any of them. I think they're all great. I'm worried that McNamara is very heavily represented here, and I don't want to lose sight of the other parks that we have so that they fall behind in our cycle.
Agreed.
So that is one concern. And related to that would be any costs related to a landscape architect. They don't come cheap, and so I think, we need to think about what we can do, where we need help, and to best prioritize those dollars.
Yes.
I don't want to see all our levy money spent on a consultant.
Yes, okay.
So those are my thoughts.
I can add to that. This discussion last night is when the Parks Committee discussed this. The intent was not to do a landscape architect, or they were talking about specifically the playground and maybe the playscape, but then it was suggested that we get more bang for our buck. Over the long haul, it would be cheaper just to take in consideration all the improvements in McNamara in one sketch, because it would be cheaper than piecemealing it. I don't know that the intent is to finish all the projects in the 5 years, but it was suggested that we combine them for that reason.
And I also don't know that the intent would be that this is all that would happen in that 5 years. There's lots of things in the master plan that would definitely get, slotted in, things that maybe are more minor, maybe a little less cost. These were just all the things that are kind of big ticket items that made sense, that they were really going to require a lot of planning in order for them to happen. There are other things that maybe are less expensive that we would be able to slot in over that 5-year period. And I don't foresee that McNamara would be the only place that would receive anything. But you're right, that's kind of the way it looks, but I don't think that's the intent.
Okay.
The other
Good to
thing,
hear.
yeah, the other part of the discussion was, I think the Parks Committee is realizing that it takes a lot of planning to get grants, and you need a plan in place. And we were also talking about the state budget, the capital budget that's coming up in January. So we kind of want a big ticket item for those things. Correct me if I'm wrong or
No.
add anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Yep.
I just didn't want us to
Yep.
lose sight of
Yep.
those other parks that are utilized by a lot of our residents.
Yep, I agree.
And it's, I mean, this is the obvious, but we really want to be able to plan those, for those grants so that we can stretch the levy dollars and get more use out of, the funding. And so that's kind of our thought is, these are all things that would be ideal for a grant. So let's put those kind of as a priority, because now we need to start planning for the grants so that we can do that a year or two in advance of when the action would actually take place, the actual construction of whatever it is that we're planning.
Madam Chair, just a
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
You're exactly right. We need to have the priorities set for the capital budget, because before you know it, January's going to be turning around the corner. We're going to need to have, and sometimes the state reps ask for those in December so that their people can be prepared to push them through. So I'm expecting great things from our new neighbor who's in the state capitol building, so Beth Lear.
I agree. I agree.
But secondly, we do, and just for public knowledge, we have grants outstanding right now that we're waiting for answers. We have the Worthington Road grant that's been reapplied for.
For the trail.
For the trail extension from Sheffield Park down to Mansard Estates, which is a nice connection for neighbors. Also, we have the barn preservation grant that Jim Barna applied for recently. And also, we're in the summertime, I think there's a deadline for a OPWC green space preservation grant that we're applying for big money. So yes, the township does extend the park levy funds by utilizing grants and capital funding. So just wanted to mention those.
Thank you. Do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to thank you. It's apparent that you've put a lot of thought into this. And I just want to confirm, we're not approving this. I mean, these will come to us is when there's a
Oh, yeah,
cost to it.
You're not approving like, okay, we're gonna move forward
Right,
and
right,
do
right.
all of this.
Right.
It's basically just accepting them as you agree with what we've put together, or if you tell me, I'll make changes to it. I've made notes based on the feedback we've gotten already. So it's really just a matter of saying, yes, we agree that this is how the thought process should
Yeah,
go.
This is big picture, though. It's going to be flexible.
Oh, yeah.
Things will change in a year. It can change.
Oh, and they're priorities. They're not the
Yeah,
to-do
right.
list to check them all off as they.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Molly.
Can I go with your acceptance?
Is
think
everybody
so.
okay with this? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
it.
I'm moving forward.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Consensus, yeah.
Thanks,
Yes.
guys.
Thank you. All right, Bob.
And I got a letter from the guy. It's a real nice letter. It's to Paul. It says, "You and the township staff continue the outstanding support and maintenance and improving the Genoa Trail. I just noticed the water fountain at the Big Walnut Fire Station. Thanks. I could ride this awesome trail every day because the tree canopy is great. And today the honeysuckle fragrance was very pleasant. Enclosed is a $100 contribution to the Genoa Township to provide tangible evidence of my support for how you continue to maintain and improve this trail. Since I live in Franklin County, this is my support for your efforts. Please share my appreciation with the township trustees and all the staff who work so hard to support this trail."
Perfect. Thanks, Bob. I'll move to graciously accept a donation from Robert Litt in the amount of $100 for the parks development. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? I'm going to thank him. It's very generous.
And a very nice letter.
Yes. Very, very heartfelt, you can tell. Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. Anything else, Bob?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Next, Paul.
Good evening, Board. This evening, I have a very important item on the agenda. The time has come once again where we reviewed the bids for our 3 township-wide waste and recycling program. As you know, we combined with Liberty and Orange Townships, and this year we had 1 bidder that submitted. Rumpke was our sole bidder, and so we had 3 alternatives that were submitted by the Rumpke. The first alternate is the basic program that we have right now, unlimited weekly waste and recycling. It's for $19.04 per month, and that would represent a 12.5% increase over the current contract that we're in. Secondly, and I should point out that included in the waste part of that, yard waste is collected in that alternate. We have an alternate 2 bid. It's for unlimited curbside waste and recycling with 5-yard waste collections, dumpsters. I'm sorry, I directed that the wrong way. There was 5 number per year yard waste collections disposed of by the township residents. So there would need to be a plan for those 5 during the course of the year. And having this option for the unlimited, or having the yard waste items disposed would be an increase of the current rate of 48%. for a total of $25.04 per month for just having those 5 extra collections a year that are yard waste. And then the third alternative, it's for unlimited curbside waste and recycling, and then having a weekly yard waste collection for the months of April through November. And they would, once again, take those items to a yard waste or compost facility. And that increase would be the same as the other one, $25.04 a month, which is a 48% increase. The Waste Hauler Committee, which comprised of the Solid Waste District Director and the administrators from Liberty Township and Orange Township, all met and decided that there would be the least amount of burden on our residents for going with alternative A, which is the 12.5% increase. The rate's still under $20 mark, which is lower than a lot of folks in the county and central Ohio. We have, also, I should mention to you today, we have, also part of the bid is the trash carts are going to go up to $350 each per month. So it's all 3 townships need to agree upon the alternative. We have to have the same alternative. I have with me tonight Blake Austin from Rumpke in case there's any questions on the bids. And I'd like to recognize Michelle Boney, the administrator from Orange Township, is also with us. And does the board have any questions for myself or anybody?
Anyone? Go ahead.
I'm not sure if you said it, if I missed it. Did you mention the senior discount that is
Oh, yeah.
currently existing?
Once again, the Rumpke will recognize a 10% senior discount on their alternatives.
Thank you.
You're too young.
He wants to know.
Blake, 62 and above, isn't it?
Any other questions?
And I'll get to the second page, Mark, after you guys decide upon which alternative.
So I'll make a couple comments. I became aware today that Orange Township did discuss this last night, and their administrator is in the audience. So if we have any questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to come up and answer any questions.
We're not happy.
But they did not decide on alternate 1, 2, or 3. I believe there's one trustee who is not in favor of alternate 1, who would like to see the yard waste disposed in a yard waste or a compost facility. However, I'm comfortable that I'm comfortable approving alternate 1 because I have a feeling that the other 2 townships will end up approving alternate 1 as well.
Refresh my memory on how this 3-team process works. We all 3 has to
So-
be unanimous?
Yes, to have this contract, all 3 terms have to be the same on the alternates in the whole package.
But it's a majority vote of the trustees within each
Yes.
township.
Yes, it does
doesn't
not have to be
all three.
unanimous by board.
But all 3 townships have to agree in order.
Correct.
Yes.
We all must
Yeah.
vote for it.
They all must have a majority.
Yeah, I think alternate 1 in my mind is the way to go. The other 2 are significant increases for our residents, and I just don't think that that's fiscally responsible on our part.
I agree. I think 12% increase is enough. I'm kind of shocked at that price. I can't imagine having a 48% increase, especially with the seniors on a fixed income. We get those complaints all the time. And I feel like for what you're getting for the additional cost, it's not worth it.
I would agree with you.
I'm shocked that there's only 1 submittal. Can that be explained why we're,
I can explain, it's the magnitude of the contract.
yeah?
There's 28,000 stops when you count all 3 townships. And that's a lot of production in 1 week for a trash company. So a lot of the smaller bidders are afraid, or they couldn't match the price
Right.
because they don't have the infrastructure to support us.
Makes
I think
sense.
I
last
agree.
time we renewed this, there was only one. I don't think there were other companies either. So this is not uncommon.
I have to jump to the second page to ask this
Okay.
question.
Okay.
12.5%, does it include this additional cost for the bins?
I did not. This is subscription. So a resident, if you choose
Yeah,
not to
choose
do
not to
those,
use it.
you can get those if you want. I meant the italics on the second page.
Okay.
Any other discussion, questions?
Let's vote.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't want to rush you.
I'm reading
Are
the
you ready?
italic stuff in there.
He said not yet.
Oh, still not yet. Is that like the fine print that we're not supposed to?
No, I'm going to
That's
address that
separate.
after the
It's
vote.
separate. It doesn't have to do with this. That's why
Okay.
he's telling you that. I move to approve a resolution to award and adopt the contract for the collection, transfer, and disposal of solid waste by an independent contractor pursuant to the joint request for bids with Liberty and Orange Townships, RC 505.27, as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Guess we should have had that before. Oh,
Ms. Franzat?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Now I'm going to get into the italicized section. Rumpke also dangled a carrot for the consortium. And to me, it's an exciting proposal that's in addition to the terms and conditions. They would like to try to convert all of our residents in the township over to totes for recycling instead of red bins. And so if they have agreed that if the township trustees vote to go with the option to eliminate the red bins when the contract renews next year, that they will offer free recycling totes to everybody. So, but if you already have a blue one, you don't need one. But if you have a red tote, you get a free, or the bin, then you'll get a free either a 65-gallon or 95-gallon recycling tote. This could save the resident $3.50 if they have a subscription cost for that. So I'm excited about the proposal, and some of the benefits would be, it would save a lot of our neighborhoods from being cluttered with litter on the wind days. I know the red bins leave the trash open, recycling open to fly around. And it saves Rumpke, their workers won't have to lift the red bins anymore. The trucks are equipped with dumping mechanisms for the large totes. So I think it's a good proposal, and the exciting thing about this is a Genoa option only. Orange and Liberty will face their own vote on that issue if they want to go there or not. So it's up to the three trustees whether or not you want to pursue this or not.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's a no-brainer because it's still an option, right?
But I
Residents
think
aren't
it's all or
forced to-
nothing,
No.
isn't it?
Red bins are gone if you go with this,
Oh, it is?
right?
Yeah, yep.
So,
I have 4 of those
well, then you only need the gigantic
things. I know,
cart.
I'd rather have the gigantic one than 4 of those things.
So for people that would move into the township and they've got tons of boxes out there, will Rumpke still pick those up in addition to dumping the cart? That one-off?
Is this on?
This is Blake Austin from Rumpke, for those doing our minutes.
Good evening. To answer your question, how we'd likely treat that is we'd request the resident call in and set up a bulk pickup for all those items. Because if you're moving in, you're talking 20, 30 boxes probably, right? Yeah, it'd probably at that point be easier just to set it up for us to treat it as a bulk item pickup.
Okay, but they don't have to cut down every box and for the next 6 months stuff it into that container. Okay, all right.
But when you call Rumpke to ask for bulk pickup, there's no additional cost. You're just letting them know there's gonna be a bunch of stuff here.
Yeah, it's just giving us a heads up so
Okay.
that we can
That's what I thought.
move a helper here or there to,
Right. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Alternatively, Paul mentioned that if you have the blue bin currently, the Genoa bin, you can still get one of these. If you had your bin and our bin, will you pick up both of them? You know, if you're
Yeah, if
super
you- so you-
recycler.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's
that-
no
Just set them
reason
both
not to.
out, they both get dumped into the truck and we're done.
Yeah, because they, I
Okay.
mean, they paid for the blue bin, right?
The residents paid for those with the grant.
And in theory, they could still have the red carts currently with the blue bin?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I don't see why.
So instead, they just have the large
They'd
bin
have the
from
blue
you, the
bin
large
and-
bin from us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So
That's all
you'll
I
pick
got.
up and take all the red bins? What happens with the red bins?
That's the one thing we'll need to figure out. If the resident wants to hold on to them, they can use them. For instance, this is entirely anecdotal. My sister-in-law lives in Liberty Township. She uses hers for a laundry bin. She already rents a recycling cart from us. She uses her 2 red bins for recycling, or for laundry and things of that nature. So if you wanted to
Creative.
use them, you could use them.
I'm
If
proud
you,
of that. So the only downside is it's a bigger container.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Right.
you know, with being an empty nester, we barely fill the one we have. But we're gonna have a bigger bin in our garage now. That's
You
the
won't
only
have to take
downside.
recycling out every week now. You can wait 2 weeks.
Recyclables are not wet. I mean, I leave mine in several cycles until it's full.
You got me.
Issue is space, right? If you like I talked to someone today who has the red recycling bins on a shelf because there's not floor space. So that's the issue. If you have a small garage and you don't have space and you don't keep the red bin on the floor, I don't know,
A number of people put them outside.
right?
You know, HOAs are kind of picky about that, but, you know, plant a tree, put up a little fence.
Is this a decision we have to make tonight, or can we noodle on it?
I don't think so. I think you can, yeah, this contract doesn't go into effect until February 1st, so
Right.
like 3 to 4 months notice, so we could.
Oh, yeah,
or
I
the-
was
or
thinking,
the-
I kind of would like to know what the residents,
Yeah.
this
at
is
least put in the
significantly going to
newsletter.
impact them, I'm sorry. I would like to
Okay,
get their
that's fair.
feedback before
Okay.
we just yank it one way or another,
I mean, for big families, I can see where this would be preferred, but
right?
But I
For
think it
empty
would also
nesters.
help the litter problem that we've continued to
Yes.
hear about, you know,
yeah.
things blowing around on Fridays because the bins are open.
Right.
So would-
Solves one,
So the
creates
plan
another.
is to get this in the newsletter, next newsletter?
Yes, something, I'd like Leslie to put together a survey if she's listening.
So you'll give
Like
us a
a fake.
deadline then of when to have a decision?
Yeah, I can
No?
get you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take too long, it's just a matter of reaching residents.
As long as it's within, you guys meet once a month?
Yep.
Yes.
Next month or 2, you have a decision, that
Yep.
should be fine.
Could Leslie put something out on Facebook?
Yep,
Because the newsletter won't go out now for 2 months. We just
September.
got one.
right,
So maybe something quicker.
okay. Yes, come on up.
Michelle Bonney, Orange Township Administrator. Just a question on the bins. If we move to the carts, is there a way to have Rumpke schedule to pick them up? I mean, is that a service that you would be willing to?
I would have to get confirmation of that.
Okay, and if that is the case, is that an additional cost?
You guys meet in 2 weeks, right? Or in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we'll talk after this,
I'll
but
have an
yes.
answer in 2 weeks.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just wanted to see, because that's conversation's been coming up, so I think the board is interested in that, but they just don't want to have these extra bins in place, so having an option to have it picked up would be nice, so.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll let the board know that you guys move forward with option 1. so
Perfect, thank
thanks.
you.
I would put mine out for trash.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see. You don't want to see it go into a
Take the red ones out
landfill.
of the trash.
Yeah. Defeats the purpose of recycling. Just saying.
Your job. Sort that out for me.
All right. Thank you, Paul. All right, next, Chief Ponzi with fire.
Good evening, Board. In your packet, you should have a request for education incentive for firefighter paramedic Tyler Huber. Mr. Huber has recently completed his master's degree in public administration, which was previously approved by the Board of Trustees as a course of studies. He has now completed that, excuse me, completed that coursework and has obtained his master's degree. And I would ask for a resolution under the collective bargaining agreement that he's entitled to a pay supplement of $125 per hour. He is already has a supplement of $1 per hour. So the total net increase would be 25 cents per hour per the collective bargaining agreement.
So have you looked at this resolution? Is it correct then? Says $1.25?
$1.25 per hour.
He gets $1.25 per hour.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
But he already has $1.
Yes. Okay.
And then I'll follow that up with an email to Linda and Donna, just as we went down this road once.
Okay.
Recently.
Very
And
good.
just as a reminder of, hey, he already gets this, net increase is only 25 cents.
Okay. I'll move to approve the education incentive in the amount of $1.25 per hour for firefighter paramedic Tyler Huber for a master's degree in public administration from The Ohio University per the collective bargaining agreement, Article 15.8. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, second item on the agenda for us is request a resolution by the Board of Trustees to authorize the fire chief to accept the grant through FEMA that we have been awarded. Just a quick recapture on that. We put in for a FEMA, what's called Assistance to Firefighters Grant. We call it an AFG grant. Those grants are basically for equipment. So early, we were surprised that we were notified so early. We weren't expecting anything till the fall. We were notified that we got 2 of the 3 items that we requested in the grant, which the total project would be $240,700, which out of that, the federal assistance is $218,818.18. The other funding that is needed has already been budgeted for and appropriated, and it's in our operating budget. So if you have questions, real quick, so the largest portion of that grant is going to buy new self-contained breathing apparatus that the firefighters wear. Our current SCBAs are getting ready to, as we call it, time out in about 2 years. So we thought it'd be prudent to apply now in case we didn't win the grant. We had a couple more years to keep trying. We just got lucky on this first round. And then the second portion of that grant would be for the vehicle exhaust removal system for all the diesel vehicles in the apparatus bay. And that will help pull all of the exhaust up out of the apparatus bay when the vehicles start to get that away from the firefighters and to make a cleaner working environment, basically. So those are the 2 items that we were awarded. The one item that we were not awarded was a new SCBA compressor, which is okay. I've already talked with the grant writer, and he's very optimistic. And actually, he said if they don't give away all the money in this round of funds, they go back and they say, well, you didn't get this in the first round, but we'll give it to you now. So we still have an opportunity for the next couple months if they don't exhaust all their funds. We may get that last requested item. We just don't know yet. So it's still out there. So does the board have any questions about the grant?
How about
You want to
yeah,
read it first?
I'll read it and then we'll do it.
Understood.
I'll move to approve a resolution by the Genoa Township Board of Trustees authorizing the fire chief to accept a grant through the fiscal year 2022 Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program from the Department of Homeland Security for the purpose of purchasing self-contained breathing apparatus, face pieces, and direct source capture vehicle exhaust systems as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I got just a couple quick questions. This fiscal year is correct, right?
It is.
More importantly, what do we do with the older breathing apparatus? If we get brand new ones and they still have 2 years of life, do you shelve them?
We've never been in this situation. Probably, we'd probably look at trying to sell them on gov deals.
Yeah.
If there's a smaller organization out there that could use them for 2 years, I mean, they have to understand that at the end of the 2 years, if you continue to use them, you're out of life. They're not safe anymore, as deemed by the manufacturer. The other part we could look into would be a donation to one of the local trade schools. Like, a little bit different of an operating environment for them to just use them for training. So that we could possibly look at that also.
What is the lifespan of one of these?
15 years.
Oh, nice. Great. Good work.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for doing your due diligence and saving
Well,
our
and
taxpayers' money.
I would be remiss if I didn't say this, is that I had intended in it completely with everything going on recently, completely slipped my mind, but I was merely, for full disclosure, the paperwork signer on this. A lot of this was the 3 battalion chiefs, Corey Weekly, Eric Schieber, and Brady Johnson. Brady has been down this road with AFG grants before at his other department. And also Tony Cato, our fire marshal, compiling all the statistical data. And we also hope that we'll have some good news soon also about the other grant that we applied for additional personnel. So.
Perfect. All right, roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, I just have a couple other things that are not on the agenda. We are moving forward on trying to fill our vacancy, the one vacant full-time position that we currently have. And we're moving along pretty well with that. And I wanted to ask the board if they would entertain the idea of if we were to get all the paperwork back and we're ready to bring this new employee on, would they entertain the idea of a very short special meeting to bring this person on and get them sworn in? If I can get that person on, that helps reduce my overtime costs. So instead of course, it would be my luck that we would get all the paperwork back and completed after the next trustee meeting, and I'd have to wait nearly 30 days. And I'd like the opportunity to get that person sworn in as soon as possible. If that works out via email, that I could poll you all, or through Paul, would the board entertain?
Sure.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I'd have
You've
no
already
problem.
identified the candidate?
Yes. And quite honestly, I think we've talked about how the hiring market is right now. This candidate is in 2 other processes locally with the city of Delaware and the city of Upper Arlington. And I want to grab him before someone else makes an offer to him, because it's just the way it is right now, trying to hire people. So the sooner we can move and secure him, the better off we are.
Well, and we would only need 2 of us if there's a real difficulty getting all 3 together, even for a special meeting,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I could swear him in anytime.
Yeah, we would have to have the resolution.
Well,
Right.
that's true.
So just a couple other notable things. Even though it's summer, within the past week, we've had 2 carbon monoxide incidents in the township. One was 2 construction workers working in the basement of a home with gasoline-powered concrete saw. When our crews entered the house, the carbon monoxide detector went up to 528 parts per million. That was after they had opened up all the doors and windows. Both of those construction workers were transported to OSU for possible hyperbaric treatment. And then I think it was the next day, we had a faulty hot water heater. That residence had 50 parts per million in it. So again, just want to say, hey, make sure you have your carbon monoxide detectors. Theirs was going off, but not steadily. So we don't know if they had a faulty detector, but they called just in case for peace of mind. And thankfully they did. Obviously you heard the new water fountain is in. I wasn't here last month by the time everything got finished up, but thanks to a couple of the folks from maintenance and Mike Gertie from the fire department getting that all plumbed in and everything, it's up and running. It seems to be a popular attraction. And then like Steve said, I sent to you all an email with the latest update from the solar eclipse meetings so that you all are up to speed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, Joe Schaefer in zoning.
Good evening, trustees. I have one item to bring before you this evening. It's regarding zoning case number 2022-06, Mira Luna. I'm just going to go through the memorandum I prepared for you. On Monday, June 12th, 2023, the Genoa Township Zoning Commission heard testimony on the subject zoning map amendment / preliminary development plan application, which proposes to rezone approximately 129.5 acres of property located at various addresses on Rome Corners Road. I'm gonna spare reading all of the PIN numbers, from rural residential to planned residential district in order to construct 159 single-family dwellings. Said meeting was a continuation of hearings that had previously been conducted over numerous dates. Following the close of testimony, the commission deliberated and passed the following. 1, a motion to recommend approval of the requested rezoning to PRD by a 5-0 vote. And 2, a motion to recommend approval of the preliminary development plan associated with rezoning by a 5-0 vote, including all divergences. As such, I'm asking this evening that the board consider passing a motion that formally acknowledges receipt of the commission's recommendation for approval for this application and set a public hearing date, including time and place, for said application within 30 days of this meeting, which would be August 5th, as well as the date and time when revised and supplemental materials to be reviewed for said hearing will need to be submitted to the township. Staff suggests this deadline for submitted materials be established 2 weeks prior to the hearing date in order to provide ample time for review and ensure a copy of the plans is on file when the required advertisement runs. In fact, if you want to make it earlier than that, that'd even be better. After looking at the hall availability dates in that window where we actually could have the meeting and meet the advertisement requirement, there's really only 3 dates that would work, and I believe the first 2 probably have conflicts either on the applicant end or at least with one board member. Those 3 dates are Monday, July 24th, Wednesday, July 26th, and Monday, July 31st. Monday, July 31st, to me, seems like the date in terms of talking with the applicant, and I believe in knowing the availability of at least one of the board members was probably going to be the best date, but I wanted to open the floor to a discussion.
I'm out, all those dates.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, in that case, we do have Mr. David Fisher here in attendance. I have dates in August prepared, listed out that would work theoretically, but I wanted to give Mr. Fisher a chance to possibly speak to, are there any, I guess, number one, are you willing to have the hearing beyond the 30-day timeframe?
I am. I guess the question is, I know.
Would you mind coming up to the
Yeah.
microphone just so
Yeah,
the board can
thank
hear
you.
you? I'll just go sit over here.
I'm not quite sure I heard everything. David Fisher, Kemp Fisher on behalf of the applicant. Not sure I heard quite everything. If Ms. Bond's out on the 31st, so is there any earlier dates in July that we could do it?
The only other 2 dates in July that the hall was available were the 24th and the 26th.
Gary Smith's out.
Yeah.
You're
Those
out
times.
which week? The 24th? Yeah, so am I.
So the next earliest date, if the applicant's willing to go beyond the 30-day window, would be Wednesday, August 9th. Unfortunately, with trustee meetings, zoning commission meetings, national night out,
Yeah.
they have special election this August, it's just really backed up.
I can do the 9th.
Yeah, I can do the 9th.
I can do the 9th.
Okay, great.
Is that okay?
Thank
we'll
you
waive the
for
30 days.
extending it.
Yeah, we'll waive it 30 days. What time would that be on August 9th?
6:30.
6:30 unless the board wants something different.
That good?
Thank you for being here.
Sure. Thank you. Is that great? We all set
Yeah,
for
that's
that
all I
night?
needed from you, thank you.
Okay, thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So I'll move that the Board of Trustees acknowledge the recommendation of the Zoning Commission's approval of ZC 2022-06 zoning map amendment preliminary development plan Mira Luna. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Bond?
Yes, motion carries. So to confirm, there's a public hearing for ZC 2022-06 zoning map amendment preliminary development plan Mira Luna, and it was scheduled for August 9th, 2023 at 6:30 PM.
Do you have a deadline in mind of when you would like to have the materials received by? I'd prefer we have them no later than, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the calendar here. The 26th, preferably even earlier than that.
Mr. Fisher, do you have a preference on a,
I got a packet in my.
yeah, I
Oh,
thought
I'm
that's,
sorry, yes, we do. Sorry.
okay.
They were really on the ball this time, so I'm not, we usually don't have this stuff, so never mind.
Okay, so we're good.
We're good.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
That's all I have for you this
Okay,
evening.
thank you. Before I read announcements, Mr. Meyer, we were going to discuss the CIC and the Delaware County Foundation.
Right, so we.
Can you speak into the
Oh, I'm sorry.
microphone? Thank you.
I don't speak that often. So we had an opportunity, we've talked about the community corporation and then also the Delaware County Foundation as far as helping us manage charitable donations and things of that sort. As I had mentioned before, I believe the CIC was overkill. I didn't think we needed to have our own corporation and next thing we know, we're naming boards and we have to do audits and just a lot of things that we would have to administer as a township. And we're not taking in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of donations and so forth. So we had a conversation with Delaware County Foundation, the president of the foundation, and then Susan Bibler. And we can reestablish our relationship with them for $250 a year to have an account.
Per account. So if we have more than one account.
We could have more than one
yeah.
account. We'd have a general account, and then we could specify if we want to on certain things. And we would then take donations in, and then we go to the foundation, and then we would direct them to take care of those donations however we see fit. There was some discussion about, and we'll get this discussion going and see if we can figure out, see if I can make any sense of it, because there was some discussion about, well, that'll help us with food trucks, because food trucks aren't allowed to be on our property and make money. But if we charge them a fee through the foundation and the foundation takes in that money, then we can do that. And I'm still not convinced that's the right way to do that. So I'm trying to figure that portion out. But there's other things they can do for us. One, again, take in donations. But if someone died tomorrow and their will said, I want to give up my house to the township, we'd have no way of administering that without going through a lot of this. The foundation would do that for us. They would take that in, and then we would decide what to do with it. That's just one example. So I'm in favor of moving forward with the trustees going back to having a relationship with the foundation. That's just my opinion, because I think that it's an easier way to take care of charitable donations and so forth. So, but this whole food truck thing, I'm confused about. So, if anybody, it keeps coming up.
Yeah.
It keeps coming up.
Yep.
Well, to help us with food trucks, I'm like, how? I'm trying to figure out how it will, because they're still making money on the property, regardless of how we do it, unless all their money goes into the foundation, and then it's somehow diverted back out. I mean, I'm just in my mind.
So go ahead.
Can I make a comment
Yep.
about this? So I guess, and in the past, I've spoken with state officials from the State Department of Taxation about our exemption status as a township. And when we acquire properties, there's got to be a lot of proof that the township is buying the property for a specific governmental purpose, whether it be a police station, fire station, or park facility, or general location for your building itself. So there's got to be documentation in place for that. They won't relieve any of the property tax from that until proof is made. Conversely, if the township has rental property or collecting property funds off of properties, they're no longer tax exempt. They'll have to pay taxes on that parcel. After I spoke with the state rep this past week, she made a recommendation that we ask our county prosecutor for a legal opinion on this issue. That way it's legally clarified specifically, because she said, it sounds like if you get a legal opinion, it may go in favor of you because you're not making a permanent business on site. You're creating special event times where it's not a permanent income generating, you're not going to set up a permanent store on site of anything. And they're recommending a legal opinion from the prosecutor's office spelling out specifically, A, we want it for possibly special events, Easter, Halloween events, food trucks for movie nights, national night out. Just get a bunch of options that we would be utilizing food trucks for, and then ask for an opinion. Because that in itself, if it comes back favorable, could be the missing link that we've never had in this whole process, which is now the golden ticket.
Well, so I've done a lot of research on this because it comes up a lot. People want food trucks on movie night. We talked about having a symphony in the park. Well, we can't afford to pay one. One did come a few years ago. They had a grant. They had to complete so many performances. That's how that came about. So if you wanted to hire a band to play for whatever, and you wanted to pay them, if you want to sell tickets to the event to offset the cost of the band, it's more than just food trucks. Harlem Township has a farmer's market now every Friday, and I called Harlem Township. They have a CIC. That's how they get away with having that in one of their community parks. Powell, or Liberty Township, has Powell Fest. They sell beer. They sell beer because the trustees pass a resolution that they can sell beer in their community park on this day between these times. The sky's the limit. I'm not saying I want to sell alcohol at a public event, but it opens the door to all kinds of other activities that we could do as a township that I think would bring people to us versus them going to Westerville, Sunbury, Delaware, Powell. And I think it would be good for our community to have something here in Genoa.
So would the board be in favor of me asking for a legal opinion? Oh, yeah. And of course,
Yes.
before I send it out, I want to make sure that I'm covering all the options that you're thinking of that would be covered by this opinion. So I'll draft it and you guys can wordsmith it.
Yeah.
If you're all right with that, I'll work on it
Yep. Thank you.
tomorrow or whenever, okay?
But to Pat's point, I did call Rick Carr and ask about the CIC. I was sold on the CIC until I spoke with the people at the Delaware County Foundation. For someone or a group of people who are getting back into this, I think the foundation is the way to go for the fee. I met with Susie and Chris, who are two staff members there. They are so knowledgeable that I think they could help us with an idea. They would help us bring it to action. Whereas if you have your own CIC, you're kind of on your own to try to figure things out.
Do we receive enough in donations to offset the annual fee?
Yeah.
I had that conversation. If there is a dormant account and it's really not doing anything, or the account isn't big enough, they would waive the fee.
And we got that in writing?
Well, I can get it in writing. We
Well,
can.
Here's the thing, though, let's say this opinion comes back favorable, now all of a sudden, absolutely, right? I mean, we would be taking in money we're not used to taking in,
Sure.
right? Once people understand, and I think it's something we can do an informational newsletter article about as well, letting people know if they want to donate to the township, this is how we handle it now. They can go to the foundation. So I think we would see it increase. I mean, we're not going to go millions of dollars, but I'm saying we would see an increase in it. These $100 here and there is one thing, but, there's also a gentleman who used to give us $10,000, every year, $20,000, whatever. So, yes, I think if we had 20 $250 accounts because we decided to open up all these different accounts with these different names, no. But Chris and Susan are like, you guys, the amount of money you're taking in, let's just look at a general account to begin with, and you can specify within that account. And then if we need to create more, we can. So they will coach us all the way through it.
Yes.
And and Chris is the president of the
Yes.
foundation. He came to the township and met with me, and it's great. So I think it's a way for us to take that burden off anybody, right, for not a whole lot of money.
Well, and we did that previously, and it worked out well for us until there was a change. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'm fine with that. And I'm also very pleased that we are now going to seek a legal opinion, because I think that that's critical for us so that we don't get ourselves in jeopardy and potentially lose our tax exemption.
Yep, I agree.
You know, we don't want to end up looking like we've laundered money. So,
Okay.
Bye. All right. Yeah, thank you, Pat, for looking into it. All right, announcements. July 8th is our trash pickup day for the Rumpke Holiday Pickup. July 10th, there's a zoning commission meeting. July 11th, Fire Advisory Committee. July 12th, Police Academy Advisory Committee. July 15th is the movie night at McNamara Park. July 25th, Board of Zoning Appeals. August 1st is National Night Out. August 2nd, Parks Advisory Committee. And our next regular trustee meeting is August 3rd. At this time, I'll move to adjourn to executive session at 7:46 PM to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee. Do I have a second?
second?
Roll call?
Mr. Antonetts?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Ms. Vaughn?
Yes. Motion carries. We're now adjourned.
How long has she been there now? 3?
Well, zoning, she was at
Well,
zoning. All right, I'll move to a return from executive session to the regular trustee meeting at 8:27 PM. Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. There's no business to come before the board, so I'll move to adjourn the meeting at 8:27 PM. Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:27.